Good evening and welcome to the Successful Salon Team Training Room. I've got an amazing guest with me here tonight. I tried to get on before, haven't been able to, and we've pinned him down last minute today. So a massive thank you to him for showing up and just changing whatever he had planned this evening to be with us. So welcome, Paul. Thank you for being here and spending your time with the team today.
Good evening, Jennifer, and I feel very honoured to be following Mr. Ken West. Cheers, Ken. I was very impressed by you. So I noticed you had a white polo shirt on last time, so I've gone for a little peach one. Okay. And by the way, Ken, I know you're a London boy, but in the background you can see that picture, and that is the very, very famous Fools and Horses picture. Okay, where Del Boy in the bar. Okay, and remember he falls through the bar when he's talking to Trig.
Yeah.
Okay, and that is signed by Trig and Del Boy. That is. So there you go. A little bit of South East London for Ken.
Well, I don't think he's here at the moment. He's on holiday with his family in Germany, but he always listens in, so I'm sure he would have loved that. Thank you. Oh, and good evening, Liam. Hi, Dolly. How is everyone this evening? We're just carrying on from unpacking retail and why perhaps it's not working quite so well inside of your business and what we can do about it. And Paul's got some amazing experience inside salons. He is a stylist or has been a stylist. He is a product rep and director. But let me get Paul. Paul, why don't you tell us a little bit about you and who you are and your background in the industry, because it's quite a lot, isn't it?
Oh, I've done everything. I started many years ago at Teasy Weezy Raymond, which was a very big chain of salons. Then I went to go and work for the Steiner Group, who were absolutely massive. I was offered to go on the Curie too and all that sort of stuff, but I never wanted to do that. And then I got my first break in education at the tender age of 19. I had a job offer to go to Redkin, but I also had a job offer to go to a fantastic company which no longer exists called Lamar. And everybody knew Lamar because of a product range called Apple Pectin. So at the age of 19 and a half, I was took on by a lovely guy called Michael Ryland, and I worked all over the UK till I was 29. So like I say, I was an absolute baby, been everywhere. I know everyone. And then at the age of 29, I then joined the Lanza Group. And then I got involved with Biosthetique Paris in 2006, and that's where we are today.
So, and your wife's a hairdresser as well.
Yeah, so my wife really underplays herself, so she's absolutely brilliant. So she trained at a very, very prestigious salon group called Vogue in the Cotswolds. Then she went to work for L'Oreal. So she dealt with all the beautiful people, so she knows everybody. So she was with L'Oreal, and then she joined the Biosthetique Lanza family around about, I think, 1999. So I took her on just because she was damn good at her job. In fact, true story, I found out one of L'Oreal's biggest key accounts in Ireland, who I knew, whose name was Hugh Campbell from Limerick. He's got 4 beautiful salons in Ireland, and I said to Hugh, I said, what do you think of Sandra Keir? And he says, absolutely brilliant. He says, have you got a chance to take her on? I said, yeah. He says, take her on. And then I ended up marrying her.
Oh, I love a good love story. That's amazing.
And when everybody meets my wife, they always say, you're punching. You're absolutely punching, Paul, when I meet my wife. So there you are. I got it in first.
Oh, I love that story. Well done to the both of you, and congratulations. Okay, so we were having a little chat before we came on, and we were talking about stylist ratio for colour. And so before we move into retail sales, I just want to really unpack that a little bit, because I thought it was a really good conversation to be having. There'll be lots of stylists that need to hear this right now. So walk me through the typical colour ratio of a typical stylist.
Okay, so I'm a hairdresser myself. Okay, so whenever I talk to hairdressers will always say, "All my guests have colour. They all have colour." So what I do is I say, right, let me have a look at your appointment book. Let me have a look at the computer. So if somebody, say for example, has got 6 guests in on a Monday, 3 of those guests have colour. 3 divided by 6 times 100 gives you 50%. If every hairdresser did 50% colour, okay, in our industry, all hairdressers would be earning a minimum of £60,000 a year, okay, instead of £25,000 to £30,000 a year. So whenever I do the statistics and I look at every single statistic, I'm signed up to every app, you name it, 28% at the moment is done by hairdressers. Okay, so the most honest way to do it is you don't do it by figures. Okay, you know, sometimes you can say I've done £2,000 and I've done £800 in colour. That's not the best way to do it. Is look at your guest services per day and then obviously look at how many have colour. Colour services, divide by guest times 100, that gives you a percentage.
Yeah.
And if we can start get 50% as our minimum and above, average bills goes up, salaries go up. Better lifestyle.
Paul, you're going in and out here. We're kind of losing that. So what Paul was saying, yeah, we can hear you again. You're back in the room. What Paul was just saying there is, for those of you that are in 365, you absolutely have the ability to put these numbers straight away the minute that you look inside your trackers. And it's something that we track a lot inside of 365. So looking at how many colour guests, and truthfully, factfully, not emotions, as Paul was just saying then, if you ask any stylist how much colour do, they will tell you that they do loads. It's amazing. We've got loads and loads of colour, and they haven't. What they don't do is check the numbers. So the guys inside of 365, go and grab your trackers, go and have a look. If I were to ask you right now, what is your colour percentage? You should be able to give it to me. And if you don't and you can't, you're not focusing on it, it won't grow. You back in the room now, Paul?
And each morning, when you're in the salon, each morning, what you should do, you should look at your guest list, who you got in, okay, and then you've got to look, because there are so many different services we can offer. You know, when we look at all the different colour techniques today, all the services, there must be 20 that we can offer. And I think if we're absolutely honest as hairdressers, we most probably talk about 5 or 6. And I just think we're absolutely touching the tip of the iceberg. So if we can make our colour primary, but if we can also make our colour personal. So little thing happened. During lockdown, we're in a local Boots. We see a very, very nice lady in Boots who's around about a 10G or 10.3. Okay? She's looking to buy a colour which is a 6.5 stroke 6R. I know. So my wife goes to intervene.
Yeah.
Okay? You know, 4 shades darker, much warmer. Very, very pale skin. She looked awful. What happened was, this lady goes and gets her hair coloured at a very, very famous salon, which is in Birmingham. And this man has a salon in Mayfair. She said to my wife, if this works, this is going to save me going to Mr. Famous Hairdresser in Birmingham, where I spend a lot of money having my roots done. Immediately, we're thinking, oh my God, if a lady like this, who's driving an Aston Martin, goes to this very, very famous hairdresser, she's thinking of spending £8 on a box dye to save money, what is everybody else thinking? So what I'm teaching is, we've got to just do one thing that the guest can't do. So if we're going to do just like a root touch, just put 1 or 2 foils in to personalize it. The guest can't do a foil at home. And that is what we have to do to make our point of difference straight away in order to keep that colour guest with us, as opposed to going and buying a box dye. Because they won't really see when they start using a box dye 3 or 4 times, when they start getting the build up and the banding, then they come back to us, and that's when we charge them £20,000, don't we, to correct it. So,
maybe not that much, but having those conversations, and guys, having those conversations online. Your clients are watching you, especially if they haven't been back yet. They are colouring their hair at home. So why don't we have these conversations in the way that I'm having them with you? Get yourself on StreamYard, get yourself on a Facebook or an Instagram live. Talk about banding, talk about personalization, talk about all the things that we can offer, not in a salesy way, in an educational way, so that we can start to get inside their minds, even if they are now doing box colour themselves at home to save some money, they will be back. And we want them to come back to us, and we want them to come back as quickly as possible. So by just taking some time talking about it live with the guests, answering questions, I think you'll get them back in your chair sooner rather than later.
I think the other thing which is really, and I'm absolutely mad on this, is rebooking. Okay, I mean, I bore people with rebooking, but the simple statistics are this. Okay, if we let a guest come in every 6 weeks, that's 8.5 visits. If we let them come in every 8 weeks, that's 6.5 visits. I see people every 10 weeks. That's 5 visits. You know, we are losing so much turnover. And when that guest comes in and their regrowth is like that, this is where we have to charge them double regrowth. We don't charge them a single regrowth on a 10-week application. We have to charge them a double regrowth. So we can't be scared. You know, we can't be scared. And we have to, you know, we're artists, but we're not starving artists. You know, and we all want to have a lovely lifestyle. And the only way we're going to get a lovely lifestyle is we're going to start believing in ourselves. We've done so much training, and we've got to say, listen, this is why I'm worth this. This is why you've got to come to me. This is why I'm going to give you the best service. And, you know, you don't want to go anywhere else. And it's something I'm just so... massive.
I absolutely agree, because it's locking them in with you. You know, it's keeping them with you inside your salon rather than them going elsewhere. We are so hot on rebooking right now, more than we have ever been, because I believe right now that's the key to you still having a business in 6 months to a year's time, when those loans have got to be paid back, when, you know, all the appointments have dwindled back down to how they were before. You know, we have to lock them in. And if we leave it down to the guests, they're rebooking, like Paul just said, maybe 5 times a year instead of 8 times a year. So how can we get that visit, that frequency of visit more? You mentioned about why team, just briefly moving on to retail, and then I kind of want to swing it back to the service that you was talking to me about earlier. But you said to me about why team members are scared of the word no. What happens to team when they're, you know, because when we're talking retail, really, you know, this stuff is transferable from retail to upsells as well. So it's a broad kind of state, just upselling full stop. So why is the average stylist scared of the word no?
Do you know what? This is an absolutely brilliant question. And I'm not afraid of the word no. And I always give this story. When we used to go to clubs in the 80s, at 1:45, we used to have the slow music on. And you used to ask the ladies to go for a dance. Okay? And so the amount of times you had to do what we used to call was the walk. And you'd go over to 3 or 4 ladies, ask them all to dance. And they'd all still say no. To do the walk So I've not got a problem because I've had no said to me so many times in nightclubs. What happens is this is what happens. We do the consultation, perfect. We go through the process of what products that the guest should have. The guest has the most fantastic shampoo, scalp massage, the backwash. The assistant has talked about pH, molecular weight, the type of keratin which is being used, everything. We're then doing our commentary styling. We're telling them what oil we're using, what serum we're using, what bodybuilding product we're using. We're doing everything right. And when it comes to that last final bit, where I say, Jen, which products would you like to take home with you today? Or Jen, what products here today are you interested in to take home with you today? That stops.
Yeah.
That doesn't get said. So what then happens is the guest is actually quite interested in those products. What happens is, because the hairdresser hasn't recommended them, they'll go home, they'll pay their bill, and then what do? And they go to one of our beautiful online competitors and they buy the products. So the one thing that I do is I do so much training, I'm trying to get over the word no. And all you have to do is this. Do you remember, Jen? Okay. When you couldn't retail? Yeah?
Yeah.
So when you did some retail one day to a particular client, how did you feel?
Amazing.
Right.
When the first client that took something and really amazing. I was like,
right.
yes.
Yeah, right. So client number 2 comes in, yeah? You do the same routine. You do the magic words. Would you like to take some retail home with you today, or what products interest you? Because we all have our own little line. The client says yes again. How do you feel now, Jen?
Double
Where
yes.
are you? You're double, right? And then what happens is the third client comes in, okay? Then you do the same thing again, and she says yes. What happens?
I'm on top of the moon.
You're flying, aren't you? You're flying. You're at the Burj in Dubai on the cocktails. That's where you are. And what happens is, this is what happens, and it's all here. It's all here. The fourth client comes in, you do everything again, and she says the word no. Then what happens to that person? What do? Poof.
Done.
Done. They're done. And then their mindset says, well, if the fourth lady says no, then they go, well, the fifth is going to say no, the sixth is going to say no, the seventh is going to say no. So what I find today is you have to do the training on don't get embarrassed by the word no. You have to practice it. You have to practice it. And what's going to happen, what the guys have got to do, they've got to do their role plays in the salon, and they've got to keep practicing the words no, 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 okay? Because eventually what will happen is somebody will say the word yes.
Nice. Yes.
Okay? So, you know, there's so many no's, eventually somebody will say the word yes. But if we don't ask the question, we don't know, do we?
No.
And what happens is, as you know, hairdressing salons can create that much turnover from retail if they want. The profit from their retail that can pay their mortgage, their monthly mortgage. You know, it can pay the rent. You know, it can pay the holidays, the cars. You know, whatever. So we have to just keep on training the guys, the young assistants, who today are different. They're more sensitive, and we have to just get the word over, and we have to say to them, how would you like to be sold to? What words would you like to use? What would be your magical phrase? And they'd say, well, actually, I'd feel quite comfortable with somebody saying X, Y, Z to me. Fine. Well, if you feel comfortable saying that, then say that to our guests. And we just have to practice. And then as soon as you get one or two doing it, then all of a sudden, we get that mountain, we climb that mountain. But we've got to start, and this is a big problem. If we're doing no retail at all, don't set a target of, right, we're going to do £500 this week. It will scare everybody. We just have to say to somebody, I want you just to do one product today. Just one. You've got 6 guests today, just one product. Now, I know each client guest is capable of taking 5 products. Just one product, and that's how we start it. And once they get the confidence in just doing one, then we say, right, let's try and do 2, 3, 4, and we have to build it slowly. It's very different today.
Yeah, and I think that it's a limiting belief for sure for people, especially in the younger generations, that when the word no is said, it's a bad thing. And by understanding that retail is a numbers game. It's just like any form of marketing, it's a numbers game. If you are 5 people, you have the potential to sell to 5 people. If you don't ask 5 people, you have the potential to sell to none. So it's just getting used to saying it regardless. And if somebody says, oh, I'm good, I don't need any, having a little script in the back of your head that you can pull out so that embarrassment isn't there. Like, oh, that's fine. Once you've used up what you've got at home, I've written down what we've used on you today so that you've got it for future reference if you want to come back and buy it then. Like, having that something to let that awkwardness go, I think is really...
And also what's a good idea is if you say, if what the guys can do, whatever is their favourite product, if the guest says no to something, just find like a little sample pot and say, I'm just going to put a sample of this in here for you, Jennifer Louise. I want you to take this home with you and I want you to use it. So even though the guest has said no, we haven't gone offended and we're not all crying and getting upset and angry. We're actually being quite nice and saying, there you are, there's something for you. Just take it home with you and enjoy it.
Just stolen that.
That's all right. So
I had a meeting.
Jennifer, that's the idea. See, our industry shouldn't be about fighting each other.
Oh, absolutely not.
It's not about fight. Our industry is all about helping each other, in my opinion. And if somebody has a great idea, then share it, because it's all for the good. And I don't mind you stealing it. That's fine.
I believe that that's absolutely true as well, Paul. That's exactly the reason why the Successful Salon training room was opened, just to find the people that are doing things really, really well in our industry and getting them to tell everyone else what they're doing so that we can all learn and grow from each other. So, yeah, that's exactly what we're about. One of the things, and just quickly, I just want to put this up on the screen. This really made me laugh. Fiona, I love her so much. But I love this. This is such a fun and transparent education.
I love you as well.
Oh, she, during lockdown, I'm not joking you, shaved her head. She literally just went, I've had enough, took it off. And she looks freaking awesome. I love it.
Where's Fiona's salon?
No, she doesn't have a salon. She's I can never say the word. She's in homeopathy.
Oh,
is that how you say it? And yeah, she's just the most amazing woman. I love her to pieces.
And this is very true what she's saying. What we're chatting about is very transferable.
Yeah.
What we're talking about at the moment. Because this is what we're talking about. We're not talking about sales, as she says. We're talking education.
Yeah.
And I always say to people, always say to me, Paul, I know you sell stuff to me, but I never feel you've ever sold anything to me. Yeah. And I never sell to people because I'm a hairdresser, and that's what we've got, all this knowledge here. But we as hairdressers are absolutely brilliant at keeping it to ourselves. And if we just got out there and just spread the love and shared the love a little bit more, we'd all be much wealthier and much richer.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. And I think when you sell from integrity, when you're really selling because that client, that guest really needs that product to get the best out of her hair, to help her achieve what she wants out of her hair, you can't go wrong, because you're doing your guest the biggest favor you could possibly do for her. You're not trying to take her money, you're not trying to steal from her, you're trying to help her make the best out of her hair and how she looks. And I just think you never feel wrong doing it that way.
And you know how we were talking about colour? You know, the whole thing it's about keeping the colour, keeping the toners or the glosses or the glazes as long as you can in your hair. And this is where professional products really make the difference. Sometimes people will try and quiz me on ingredients, and luckily I'm very good with my ingredients and my chemistry background. And what people don't realise, and we've seen all these tests done, where you get a commercial product from the supermarket and you get a professional product. Don't forget, a professional product is roughly 3 times more concentrated than a consumer product. You've got to remember, some of the key ingredients in a professional product will be 4 times the amount which is in a consumer product. Now, I'm very lucky because I have breakdowns of product ingredients in both professional brands and what we call chemist brands for all the people I know in the industry. And there is miles, especially when it comes to the pH. So when we're talking 4.5 to 5.5, keeping the door closed, the cuticle, keeping it that simple to the guest, that's why your colour's going to last longer. Or we can go and buy, a cheap shampoo from the supermarket, which is an alkaline, and that opens the door, and look what happens to your colour. So and we do see the difference, though, with the tests that the guys do, and they're genuine. They are genuine. They are genuine.
That's a great way of saying it. I think as hairdressers, we're always looking for the terminology and the way to say things to make it better, more transferable to the guest. And saying, just that simple little bit about the pH levels and keeping the cuticle open or closed, that's a sales point right there. Why wouldn't you? And if you use the words, you're investing in your colour, why wouldn't you invest in prolonging it, or you're just going to have to come back sooner?
Totally.
Using your integrity to do the best for that client would absolutely close the sales. And if you don't think it, that's fine.
And always, and the thing is, because we live in an Instagram world, it's brilliant. We see all these beautiful melts and balayages and shadow roots. I mean, I have 20 sent to me every day, by all the guys who I work with. And I always say to them, when your guests are seen out in the hippest club, do you want to see your guest with like a faded out red or a faded out copper? No, you don't. But if you let your clients buy cheap products, that's what's going to happen to your beautiful colour. So your beautiful colour doesn't stand out as beautiful as what it was when it left you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Something I wanted to just quickly touch on with you, if you don't mind, Paul, is a conversation we had last week around hair loss, and you just blew my mind with what you were saying to me, with how we can transfer hair loss into our business right now with what's going on. There's just such a massive door open. So just in your words, unpack what you said to me last week.
So we are living in an ultra stressful world, and what a lot of people don't realize is that what we eat, what we drink, how we sleep, the amount of stress we have in our life, and it's massive. All this affects the quality of our hair, which starts here in this little area down here called the papilla. And we don't see it. We only see this once it keratinizes. We don't see everything that happens down here. And because of these crazy lives we are having at the moment, you then add in COVID-19 as well, which hits the body, and it's like an atom bomb. It's a total shock to the body. That then gives you high temperatures. What then happens is you then get an even more degradation of hair loss. Mm. The other thing we're seeing at the moment is this, and I've got to give you this as an analogy. I go into salons, and this is what I am constantly seeing. Okay, ladies of a certain age, they're doing this. Okay, right, and it's great that ladies are talking about it, right? But the word, and then on loose women, you know, the word hormones, menopause, perimenopause, all these terminologies, these are coming up, okay? And what is happening through that, what is happening is you can produce more lactic acid within your scalp. By producing more lactic acid, that can help, the salt in there, that can help with hair loss as well. So the analogy I give there, you live in Ramsgate, beautiful part of south coast of England, so you live on a beach. So you're walking down the beach one day and you're watching the sea, and the sea is going against the rocks. And you're watching it, okay? So in the sea, there's obviously salt. So what the salt is doing, it's eroding the rocks, and that's how the rocks are wearing away over thousands and thousands of years. And the same thing goes on in your scalp. So for example, people who play lots of sport, you know, people who are very, very hot, okay, ladies of a certain age, people who sweat a lot, these are some of the conditions. And then also what happens is they can also get a lot of cramps. So when you talk to the guests, I say to them, do you get cramps by any chance? And they go, yeah, I do. And I go, I've got something here for you which will change your life. It's huge. And the big reason I think hairdressers don't really fall in love with this, and they see it and they talk about it, is they're too busy doing all the rest of the things. So what you're starting to get now, you're starting to get hairdressers who have been behind a chair for 30 years. And then they say, you know what? I don't want to be doing all these clients the whole time. So what I'm happy to do is I'm happy to do, say, 2 days on the floor, but 3 days I want to become more of a scalp specialist. And I want to go down this route. And it's brilliant. People are making thousands and thousands of pounds from doing this. And you know, and I'm in Birmingham, by the way, you know, home of the Peaky Blinders, okay? And we've got people up here who, in retail, just one individual can do £2,000 a week, just in retail, plus doing scalp treatments, diagnostics. And when you do a consultation, the guys up here are charging £80. You know, we've got people we know in Harley Street who are charging £250, you know, for a consultation. And this is a really, really big, massive business. Because if you think about it, if we don't look after the hair here, okay, once this hair comes through in keratinitis, if we haven't got much hair here, well, we can't really colour it, can we? We can't really balayage it. You know, I can't do my triple-decker perms I used to do in the 1980s, okay, because we've got no hair. So really, the science of the scalp with the products is absolutely huge at the moment. And so many people don't know where to go. And what they do is they do this, and they're buying products over the internet, which is costing them an absolute fortune, which can cause them some serious reactions. Seriously. Yeah. So it's a massive industry. It's an absolutely massive industry. And, you know, and again, this is another route that hairdressers could look at if they want to as well.
Yeah, one of my girls that are in my successful Salon club, she's gone really, really down the route of hair loss, and she loves it. She really does. And so you just talking about that really made my eyes my eyes and my ears prick up. Because it's something that you don't see in a lot of salons, and I think that there is a massive opportunity for us all to take these women under our wings. You know, my hair falls out by the fistful. I know if my girls know when I'm stressed at the salon, because when they shampoo my hair, they are pulling clumps of it out of the basin. It literally is like, my husband one day was like, is there something wrong with you? Seriously, the hair that's in the shower is really bad. No, there isn't anything wrong with me. It's just I'm a salon owner. We lead quite stressful lives. Actually.
And what happens is this, yeah, this is my analogy. Right? What you got to remember, when you have thinning hair and hair loss, this is not what's happened to you last week. This is what's happened to you 6, 9, 12 months ago. So I sit down with a lady, and what I do, I'm in the corner, and all of a sudden I'll start saying, "Hi Brenda, I'm Paul, I'm here to help you." Okay. Then they're a bit reserved, and then all of a sudden you ask them a few questions and they start opening up, and then I'll say, what was happening in your life about 6, 9, 12 months ago? And sometimes you'll see them choke. Sometimes you might even see a few tears, okay? Because you're bringing back a memory. And it might have been a really bad time in their life. And whatever that memory was or is, that was cause the hair loss, okay? And then that's what comes through there. So we're seeing them 6, 9, 12 months when something happened. And then that's when we take them under our arms and we look after them and we nurture them. And what is so important is we never, ever, ever oversell to these people because they're vulnerable. And what we have to do is we have to look after them and we have to do it nice and slowly. And when we do that, Jen, we've then got them. We've absolutely got them and they trust us. Because of how we've helped them. But it's absolutely huge, it is. It's absolutely huge. But the one thing I want to get over, it's not, say for example, a one size fits all. There are so many different routes to why people get problems. At one time it was, okay, well, you might have a dihydrotestosterone buildup or a DHT buildup. But there are now 5 or 6 different reasons why you can get it. And it's all down to modern life. And, listen, some of the things we have in modern life are brilliant. Some of them aren't so good. Okay? Yeah. So it's absolutely huge. But the whole COVID-19, I've been talking about this since March. And what was so good, last week they were writing about it in the Daily Mail. And so many people said, "Oh my God, Paul, okay, you were telling us about this in March, April, May, how this would have an effect." So, I screenshotted it and had a little smile to myself.
Oh, and it pat my back. I must say, I'm interested to see 6 months from here how if there's any salon owners that are going to be left with any hair after what we've just been through. I must say, for those of you that are listening to this on the replay later on down the line, we've literally just come out of COVID. We've been back into our salons for about 6 weeks now. So we've dealt with COVID, then we've had a massive stressful period back in the salons, and everyone's had team leave and join, and it's been massive. So I will imagine salon owners are going to be needing to do something around the problem of hair loss in about 6 months.
And the thing is, Jen, this is what happens. This is the one thing. If somebody's got a problem, which is a permanent problem, and we have to be very honest with our guests. We have to say, right, you've got a permanent problem, so this is what we want you to use. So what happens is, if they say use a course of the products for, let's say, a year or 2 years, and they stop using them, then what will happen within 3 to 6 months, then the problem will come back again. So I always say it's a bit like, say, for example, when I started really getting into fitness, I could not do one press up. No. This morning, I can do 80 press-ups straight away.
Ah, well done.
Yeah, I can do clap press-ups. I can do press-ups now, which are airborne, everything like this. But it takes time. So if I stopped training myself, I would go back down the hill as well. So it's important that when people do have a problem, that they realise it's got to become a lifestyle.
Yeah.
It's a bit like, say, for example, that tablet you take every day or that little cup of coffee, whatever you take, that becomes part of your lifestyle. With other people, if they have a temporary problem, we can put them on a course of products and they'll be on those course of products for 3 to 4 months. That can solve the problem and because the situation isn't as bad. So like I say, there's lots and lots of different ways of looking at this, but it's a great industry, and you're dealing at an emotional level, which is nice as well. It's nice.
Speaking of products, I have a little message on the bottom here. Hi, Jen and Paul. I love hearing what you're saying about hair loss and completely agree. Would I be able to get in touch with Paul to find out if there were any hair loss products to help with my business? I will introduce you both on Facebook after this. I shall go into this message and tag Paul in so that you can see him. And for those of you that are watching this on the replay, still comment. If you want to know how to get hold of Paul, then because I'll still monitor the comments on all of these lives, it will show up for me, so I can then come back in, and Paul will be there somewhere in the messages. You'll see him and his name in the description as well. So we're going to wrap it up there, guys. Thank you so much, Paul, for spending some of your evening with us. I so appreciate that. For the Successful Salon Club, I'll be seeing you next week. We have our next training session next Wednesday. Make sure your homework is done. I am looking at you all right now. And for all the guys in the Successful Salon Team training room, please remember, I am taking a break, a much needed, much earned break for the next 2 sessions. So I won't be here next Monday, and I will be back next Friday. So actually it's only 1 session.
Where are you going to?
Monday. So I'm going to Greece.
Oh, lovely.
Yeah, we're going to Corfu, just me and my little girl and 2 of our friends, just to sleep on a beach. I need some sleep and a little refresh.
I had an 18 to 30 holiday once in Corfu.
Has it ever recovered?
Many years. Brilliant. 2 weeks. 2 weeks in Benitez. Okay.
Oh,
so
amazing.
Great time. You enjoy it.
Oh, I will do. So you won't be seeing me Friday, peeps, and you won't be seeing me next Monday, but I will be back the following Friday with a bang. I promise you that, and hopefully with a bit of a tan. Guys, have the most wonderful evening. Lots of love to you all. Enjoy this beautiful weather for as long as it may last, and I will see you all in a week's time. Lots of love. Take care.
Guys. See ya.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Bye.